Okay, let's dive right in. If you're someone who uses an individual taxpayer identification number, an ITIN, to file your US taxes, then you're going to want to pay close attention. We are breaking down the absolute must-know rules for ITIN renewal for the 2024 and 2025 tax seasons, and really focusing on how to avoid some major problems. So let's just get right to it with the most important question. Is your tax ID on the verge of expiring? A lot of people have no idea that their ITIN even has an expiration date. And well, finding that out at the last minute can cause a world of headaches. And look, this isn't some small administrative issue. The consequences are real and they can sting. If you try to file a tax return with an expired ITIN, the IRS basically just stops everything. Your entire return gets delayed, and any refund or tax credits you were expecting, they get put on hold. So let's be super clear. Having a valid ITIN is completely non-negotiable for a smooth tax season. Okay, so to make sure we're all on the same page, let's back up for just a second. What exactly is an ITIN, and what's its specific job in the whole US tax system? All right, here's the official breakdown. An ITIN is a 9-digit number that always starts with a 9. And its one and only job is tax processing. That's it. It's the tool that lets people who don't have a social security number report their income and follow US tax law. Now, this is where things get really important, because there are a ton of myths out there. An ITIN is only for federal taxes, period. It is absolutely not a work permit. It does not get you social security benefits, and it has zero impact on your immigration status. Getting this distinction right is fundamental. Okay, so if it's just a number for filing taxes, why in the world does it expire? It's a great question. Let's get into the mechanics of why renewal is even a thing in the ITIN system. It really boils down to two main things. First, you've got what I call the use it or lose it rule. If you don't file a tax return for 3 straight years, poof, your ITIN expires. The second reason applies to older, legacy ITINs. Basically, any number that was issued before 2013 and hasn't been renewed since a law changed things back in 2015. And if there is one number you walk away remembering today, it is this one, 3. 3 consecutive years of not using it on a tax return, and that ITIN is no longer valid for filing. It's a simple rule, but man, it catches so many people off guard. All right, so we've laid out the problem. Now, let's talk about the fix. And thankfully, there's a clear 3-step process to get this done. Here's the playbook, straight from the IRS. First, you've got to fill out Form W-7, and you have to be really careful to check the box that says Renew Existing ITIN. Second, and this is crucial, you must attach that W-7 to a completed federal tax return. You can't just mail in the renewal form by itself. And finally, step 3, you have to include supporting documents to prove who you are and your foreign status. And this visual right here really shows you what I mean. That W-7 form doesn't go in its own envelope. Nope. It gets physically attached right to the very front of the tax return you're filing. The IRS needs to process them together as one single package. Now, following the instructions is one thing, but avoiding the traps and pitfalls that pop up in the real world, that's a whole other ballgame. Let's get into some of the most common and, frankly, most costly mistakes people make. And this is probably the single biggest source of stress for anyone doing this. I call it the passport problem. The IRS requires you to mail them your actual original documents, like your passport. Just think about that. For most of us, the idea of being without our passport for weeks, maybe even months is, well, it's terrifying. And the risks here are absolutely real. This data from the Taxpayer Advocate Service is just wow. You could be waiting over 2 months to get your documents back. And get this, when they do send them back, it's just through regular mail. No tracking, no security. And look at these numbers from 2023. Thousands of documents destroyed or just sent off to embassies because
the IRS couldn't get in touch with the applicant. This is a high-stakes process for sure. So how on earth do you avoid this nightmare? Well, the answer is something called a certifying acceptance agent, or a CAA. Think of them as your secret weapon. These are pros authorized by the IRS to look at your passport in person, verify it's really you, and then they certify a copy. That copy is what gets mailed to the IRS. Your original passport, it never leaves your sight. Seriously, this is the #1 pro tip for a stress-free renewal.
Okay, here is another huge catch that trips a lot of people up. The entire ITIN renewal process has to be done on paper. And because of that, there's this hard and fast rule that feels kind of weird. You cannot e-file at all. Not for that entire calendar year when your ITIN is renewed. You absolutely have to wait until the next calendar year to go back to e-file.
And then there's this, which is just plain frustrating. Sometimes you can do everything perfectly, follow every single rule, and the system can still get it wrong. Between 2021 and 2023, the Taxpayer Advocate Service found that the IRS accidentally deactivated tens of thousands of totally valid ITINs. It just goes to show you really have to keep good records of everything, just in case. All right, let's zoom out for a moment. Why does this whole system, with all its tricky rules and potential headaches, even exist? What's the big picture here? Well, the scale is just massive. We're not talking about a small niche program. We are talking about roughly 4 million tax returns filed every single year that include at least one ITIN. This is a huge, fundamental part of how the entire US tax system works. And the financial impact? Just as big. This quote from the Taxpayer Advocate Service puts it all in perspective. The ITIN program is responsible for bringing in billions of dollars in tax revenue to the US Treasury every single year. It's a critical tool for ensuring widespread tax compliance. This system didn't just appear out of thin air. It was created back in 1996 to solve a compliance problem. Then, in 2015, a new law called the PATH Act came along and totally changed the game by adding these expiration rules we have today. And that brings us to now, where the system is really struggling with being so paper-based in a digital world, creating burdens for both the IRS and for taxpayers. So, this all leaves us with a really important question to think about. We know the ITIN program is essential for tax compliance and for collecting revenue, no question about that. But, given the risks of mailing original documents, the paper-only process, and the potential for systemic errors, is the system creating unnecessary burdens for the very taxpayers it's designed to serve? And that right there is the heart of the ITIN renewal puzzle.